All right, everyone. So excited. This is the last day of East Oaktober. I can't believe it's been 20 days of this. This is just so exciting. And believe it or not, I am so excited about being done with this whole challenge thing too. So it's been a blast, but at the same time, I am toast. I'm taking the weekend off. It's gonna be awesome. So yet again, our lovely model for day 3, Jemiah, who has been here and so faithful to join us every day. So excited about doing this final painting with her. And of course, the lovely Erica Arcudi. And for her first debut ever, we have Kelly Ferris behind the mic, the lovely, the beautiful, and the lovely voice that you'll hear behind the mic. And at first I was gonna prank her by putting a monster voice on as her introduction, but then I decided it's probably best that I don't do that. Okay, so everybody knows the whole spiel. You know what's going on. What I'm gonna do now is just prep my panel, or my palette, to get it ready to put paint on the panel. And I'm going to do the next layer. And Erica will talk a little bit about that. And I'm gonna make sure that Kelly is set up and ready to go. And without further ado, we're gonna get started. Please tell us where you're from. Please tell us what you're working on along with us. And tell us all of your dad jokes like you've been doing this whole weekend. It's been great. So looking forward to hearing a few more of those. So, all right, let's get started.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who have been here all 20 days, I am so curious if you can let us know either in the comments or on Instagram or Facebook. We'd love to know how many days you've been here for. We have Alyssa joining us from Australia. We have Ananda joining us from India. Joyce says, thank you. It's been a fabulous 20 days.
And I forgot to put my phone on airplane mode, so I'm sure, hoping it was on Erica's shot at that point. Boom. There we go.
Yes, all good. Nobody can see.
Okay, good.
Family meme texts coming through.
Nice, nice.
Sean says, greetings, everyone, from chilly Utah.
Tell you, Sean and Alyssa and the whole crew, we've had such loyal followers this time that have been so good about keeping us in conversation, keeping us entertained while we sit here and work on these things. It's been a blast.
Sue says, congratulations on a fabulous month. You have all been so generous.
Sue, we're so glad that you joined us for most of this. It's been incredible.
So today is our third and final session for this painting. So even though this is triple the amount that we usually paint on for Painting from Life, as an example, I'm always wanting more time. I have a lot to do today. And in order to prep for this last session, I oiled out a bit my painting. And I'm planning on covering a lot of it, so I'm not so worried about having oil being the final layer, though we'll see how much I go into the face today. I have a lot to cover with the rest of it, so that will be what I prioritize today.
No, I hear you. Yeah, the first thing I'm gonna do is oil out the face, and usually I don't. But in this instance, just for everyone's viewing pleasure, I want them to be able to see the true colors of the portrait before, and I might couch a few areas that I might work on a little later, but I'm gonna first focus, I'm gonna just oil it out and then focus on more of the shirt and kind of get a few of those things done, and then work back into the areas that are a little more done. So I'm gonna be doing some stuff with the face, but I won't be doing nearly as much today. I'll be working on just like increasing a few value colors, increasing a few chromatic colors, maybe adding a touch more depth and texture into her hair as just part of the poetry making of this painting. Making sure the balance is nice, all of those things. So might add a little bit more color into her fingers and soften some edges in her fingers. So, but
It
first
will be
things
more
first.
about tweaking than like repainting.
Absolutely.
Anon says, just found you guys recently, been only about 2 weeks since, followed you here and on Discord. I am a newbie on oils.
Nice. Well,
We are newbies on Discord, so we have something in common.
absolutely. Every night, still figuring out some things on there, you know. But I love, love, love looking at what everyone's posting and putting. People are making some fabulous paintings for the challenge. So Kelly, we were talking about on one of these that we need, for a person who like submits all of their challenges to us, that we need to have some sort of like reward thing as like a sort of a accomplishment where we can maybe have some sort of merch that they can purchase to say that they've officially gone through the whole process. It would be a lot of fun to create something, you know, I conquered my fears or something like that, you know?
I like that. Everyone needs little plaques and trophies to stick discreetly behind them on Zoom calls nowadays.
Yeah, hey, there you go. It's quite the accomplishment.
It is. Julie says, bonsoir from France. I am sorry to see this end. Such an inspiration. A big thanks to you all. Monique from Massachusetts says, hi, everyone.
Well, I'm hoping that the end of this only means the beginning of something else is the goal, you know, for East Oaks' future, is that we'll continue to put some of these things in. So
I think it just mostly depends on how punny we can get with upcoming seasons.
yeah,
And
exactly.
got to stick with the themes.
Spring up for your spring.
Done.
No, but maybe also we can make like this East Oaktober a annual tradition kind of thing where there's something going on. We might not do a 20-day challenge. Maybe we do a different challenge or a different journey that captures the same spirit, but we call it East Oaktober still, you know, where we're working on something. You know, the only reason I would say that I may or may not do a full-on challenge for the next one is, well, it's fall season, and I kind of want to get out and paint the leaves. And if I'm stuck in the studio working, you know, under a camera for all of October, I kind of will sometimes miss that season. So,
You just need to make it part of what we do.
well, absolutely. And believe you me, I've looked into that kind of equipment that you can like film outside remotely, and it exists. We just need a few more patrons to support before we can make such an investment, because those pieces of equipment, they're up there. Also, kind of getting rid of any of these like a couple of like dust particles and things that are in the painting that just kind of annoy me. Just kind of getting rid of a few of those, and I'll go in and touch up those areas. But all right, so yesterday, one of the things I did to prepare for today, which I thought would be fun and interesting for people, and well, as we know, the whole theme of this month is that I'm having fun. So, yeah, so one of the things that I thought would be enjoyable for everyone is that I painted in a little bit of a complementary color as an underpainting for her coat. And so, Jemiah, I didn't even think about it. Maybe on the next session, we'll open your coat up, because I do love that color underneath, and we'll set up your coat to be more in the
Glad you're
position.
saying that so I don't paint the coat. Okay, cool.
There you go. Unless you prefer having it like that. Would you like some of the color showing?
I could go either way.
Okay, cool. Then we'll go with the color showing, just because that's what I have a touch of in here already. And I kind of want to, I kind of like the design that it puts into the piece, so I think it'll be helpful. But I'm going to use a hog's hair bristle brush, and I'm just going to tap like this on my lead white. And it's going to create all sorts of interesting texture. And I'm going to use a little bit of lead tin yellow in there. I'm going to bring down the color, but what I'm planning on doing is tapping like this, and it's going to create everyone on.
Your palette isn't on the screen.
It's not.
No.
Is it now?
No.
All righty. Well, that's good.
We are going to work on getting.
You have a
but
phone call.
Your
I
phone,
know.
your phone call's on the screen.
Yeah. Well,
We're going to work on getting Lewis's
There it
palette
is.
up.
It's up.
Yeah, now it is.
Okay.
We got it.
Okay. Yes. For some reason, I even have it on airplane mode, but it's still. Everyone decided they wanted to call me. I have not had a phone call all day, but of course, as soon as we
Now's the
start
time.
this, isn't that always the way?
If I see it, should I like decline it?
No, because I have it on my watch.
Okay.
I feel it on my watch, and I decline it immediately.
I'll let you know if it goes away again.
Sounds good.
Cool. So the camera was not on when you were
Okay.
showing them the tapping and the grabbing of the lead white.
Perfect. I'll show you again. So
Cool.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a mixture first. I'm going to just pull in a little bit of lead tin yellow. I'm using lead tin yellow and lead white a little bit more liberally than other colors right now because they have a thing called short paint, which is basically the texture is heavily pigmented with a sort of oil to pigment ratio, and the pigment is in variable larger sizes, and so it creates this effect where the paint is a bit more. It's less viscous. It's just the opposite of viscous. It's not like honey. It kind of has a bit of a choppy nature to it. So, but what I'm planning on doing is taking this color. I'm going to add a little bit more white to it and a hint of violet to it. Don't need a whole lot, just need a little bit to make kind of a yummy, warm vanilla, French vanilla-ish looking color to start with. And what I'm planning on doing is taking my hog's hair bristle brush and I'll just tap it into the paint, and then I'll just drag it onto the surface of her coat, and it's going to give a more of a fur-like appearance in the texture. And the other cool thing that it does is it builds up the texture for me a little bit. So then I can like add more texture on top of that texture, and it'll catch the top parts of the original texture and make it even more heavy. So if all goes according to plan, that's the plan. We'll see if it works. We should come up with something very interesting. So the only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more of this really dry lead paint that I have that is almost like the same texture and same consistency as like wall putty. I mean, it's so thick. And I'm going to mix it in here to make the paint even more short. So, because right now it's still a bit buttery, and that's wonderful. That's usually what I like to paint with. But if I add some of this like really heavy, thick, less oil to pigment ratio paint to it, it makes everything much shorter. You see how it kind of everything sticks up like really crazy ridges? That's kind of what I'm going for, so that when I put that texture on, it really comes on chunky.
Well, we have some support in the comments for making this an annual tradition. And also Wendy says, we will watch you folks with a GoPro head cam in nature.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Imagine.
Have it
Make
on my
all
head,
dizzy.
Yeah.
be shifting around the whole time.
A very literal take on the artist's gaze.
Yeah.
The next adventure for East Oaks is out in plein air. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, and I just kind of do this. I'm going to see how it works. So I'm going to look for a more light-facing plain spot of her dress. Just remember, oftentimes things are not nearly as white is rarely white, on the thing. But see how this pulls a texture onto it? Like, isn't that so interesting? Look at that. So like when you add
That is
more to it, it kind of creates this like furry texture to it. So
I'm just gonna watch. what you're doing.
So
Nice.
here's what I'm planning on doing. I'm going to take a little bit, I'm going to make a darker version and a lighter version. So I'm going to grab this, grab a little bit of this over here. We're going to make a more of a violet-y, neutral version, slightly on the colder side. I should get in my Bob Ross voice. Slightly on the colder side, just, you know, do a lot of palette knife things, you know. Okay, so this one's a little bit warmer, so let's make, I'm gonna use cobalt blue for the same reason that I am using the lead white heavy, because it creates, it has a little bit of a shorter draw than ultramarine does. So I'm gonna pull a little bit of that on the side, add that to my lead white over here. Have those two mixed together to make a little pile of cool short paint. See, if you hung out with this all the way to the end, you're getting all the painting secrets. So that's the reward to your loyalty there. But I really do. I use this a lot in my painting work. It creates a particular texture that I think is, I don't know, it's just unique to what I do. But of course, I stole it from someone else, like you do as an artist. Okay, and I'm going to make one color that's slightly more accurate to that.
Oh, saved that. Yes.
Anand says, I have been painting in watercolors for the past 8 years, been wanting to enter the world of oil painting for a long time, but the time hadn't come until recently, starting my oil journey with you guys.
Well,
Awesome.
you know, I'm so happy and proud of you, because I know that it took a while for me to get into oils just because of the fear of going, oh, there's just so much to learn. It's just so different. And I don't feel like I will be able to control it. And, you know, all the excuses. And so instead I worked with oil pastel in my younger career because I was scared.
I did that too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So because it had a bit of a painterly look. Okay, see, now that's great. That works out great. So I'm going to just tap this, and I'm going to just do a bit more tapping and a little bit of dragging. But the tapping is for creating those micro ridges so that when I drag some more paint on top of it, it'll go. You know, oil pastel had a little bit of that like painterly texture to it that you could kind of push the pigment around a little bit more. And so that's why I loved it so.
It's a great way of having like you've had a drawing background of getting into painting, where you're like starting to work color into color and edges and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I found when I was younger, when I was a kid, I loved oil painting and wanted to do it, but was so overwhelmed by how many brushes you could find, how all the oil paint colors. It was just too much. Even when you get a kit, you're like, okay, I have all these pigments. What do I do with this? And so it really wasn't until Florence Academy. Like I didn't have any painting experience until Florence Academy.
I've really enjoyed over the years seeing different artists, materialists who come
Yeah,
through here
yeah.
and how specific some of them are. And it can be really helpful to see what people are creating with, you know, what they've traveled here with from the West Coast, or
Yeah,
just
that's
kind of
really
shows
cool.
you
Yeah.
how limited of a selection you can work with. And Anand, you may have already found this, but for you or anybody else listening online, you can scroll down a little bit deeper in our YouTube. And years ago, we held something called Free Friday, and it gives so many great resources for sort of intro concepts or questions that people have when starting in oils. Things like prepping panels and how to work safely with different materials like lead white. There's some more basics in drawing spheres and shading. And that is all free on YouTube. Alyssa says, the question of the minute is, will you post some photos of everybody's much discussed Halloween costumes at the party?
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
We'll have to take a group photo.
We will take a group photo and we'll throw it on Discord for everybody. That would be so much fun.
Yeah. And also show us what you all are dressing up as.
Oh, that would be even more fun to see also what other people go as.
Joyce says, you know what I want to see a lot more of? 3 or 4 day portrait layered sessions like the last 3 days.
Oh,
That
good.
makes me really
Okay.
happy.
Yeah. We get a lot of people seconding that, thirding that, agreeing.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I selfishly want that because that's closer to how I work. And so I feel like my result is better when I have a little more time.
Yeah, the olive primas are such a great exercise in precision and honing in.
Decision
but-
making, all sorts of things. But I also just love when you have time, you can do things like what Lewis is doing with, you have painting dry, or you have paint that's dry, and you have like different textures that you can create because time has passed. And it's just something that you can't really force otherwise.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, you can try things like dryers and stuff like that, but it's just not really the same. You have to be very careful.
You still would almost need 6 hours though to
Yeah,
like even
yeah.
do that because the dryers still need a little bit of time to dry and you know, then you're still wanting to paint, you know, at the caliber and level that we're painting, and that we just require more time as well.
And I love that it takes time. I love that you can't force it. And of course it's a challenge too, but there's something, I think, poetic about the passage of time in and of itself being a part of your painting process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very meditative to think that way too, you know.
We do have, and Lewis, correct me if I'm missing any of them, but in the meantime, as we maybe figure out how to do some of these longer sessions live, which I know has its own special edge when you can join in and ask questions as we're going, we do have several 3 or 4 day workshops on Atelier Live. I know Alex has a painting and layers. Lewis has a I think,
Portrait and
painting
layers.
and drawing. That was a week-long session with Divya years ago.
Yeah, it was a 5-day. It was 4-day with like a bonus of day 5 of drawing, 1 full day of drawing, and then 4 full days or 4 days of painting. And I think that I can't remember if I did a full 3 hours on the 4th day or not of painting. So, but please, yeah, check it out.
Just to tide people over in the interim while we...
Perfect.
Esteban says, good evening, everybody from Sweden. Thank you for the challenges in your company. I learned so much from you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Laura says, thank you so much for the series. So appreciated. Matt says, yo, 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 East Oak Studio and everyone. What do you call a painter who always shows up late? This guy.
This guy.
There's got to be some sort of a material pun we can make with that.
Yeah. Now, I'm also just judging color to a degree to see the right harmonious relationship of these colors is going to be.
Erica, this might be a big question to answer while you're trying to focus and get day 3 done. But
Bring it on.
Yeah,
I've been curious.
challenge accepted.
It is a month of challenges, so here you go, final one. I've been so curious to see your approach to portraiture specifically sort of shift and unfold differently in your time at East Oaks. And I'm curious what you would describe as the differences between, how you approach portraiture differently now, how that has changed from your time at Florence Academy, and what has influenced
Sure.
that.
So I think that what's been really cool is building on the foundation that I learned at school. And so I felt like after I graduated, I had a lot of tools, and then I'm learning more and more how to use them in more and more sophisticated ways. And so it's been really fun to have different discussions, for example, like with Lewis, and saying, okay, this is what I know how to do. What else can I do? Or how can I take this and then add to it? Or how can I adapt my method to achieve this look that I'm wanting to go for? And so, and there's been a lot of just like self-analysis of my own paintings and what I feel like was missing. And so it's just been really great to have a lot of discussions about my work and where I want it to be. So I find that my method, my general method of approach is pretty similar in terms of like how I block in, like what concepts I'm thinking about. I get to now just in a way push it to slowly more achieve what I'm trying to go for. And maybe one big difference I would say is my approach to color. I have the same foundation of what I learned at school, but now I think more about complementary colors, I would say. That's just that's a smaller thing, but that is something I pay attention to now more than when I was at school.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel like I've seen that shift in your work too. Not necessarily a even progressive before and after, but just some like really intentional decision making around how to apply color in a single piece.
It's been one of the biggest things that Lewis and I have been consciously working on is because, as everyone has heard, as I get really excited about the colors that I'm seeing and I want to include all of them, and then I have to make my choices on where I want certain colors to be, and then how can I support my decisions so that they read, and so rather than it just being like kind of a garish mix of colors. And so I really value design, harmony, and that sense of kind of balance between cohesion and tension. I just think that's really beautiful, almost on an abstract level. And so for that reason, we've been talking a lot about that and trying to incorporate those themes into my work.
All right, that was well said,
That-
Erica. That was
note.
awesome. On that note,
that
we
rest.
are going to, this is break, and we will be back in 5 minutes.
Perfect.
All right, everyone, we're back. And here we go. Just now, still mixing some of the colors that I'm going to be using in this show. I know it looks like a ton of colors, but basically each little pile is a micro test of different pigment colors. I might need a little more cobalt on my palette. We'll see if I need to go grab some. But taking some more of this short paint here and continue to build it up if I can. And if you don't have lead white, you can use calcium carbonate. And I might actually put some up here in a little while just so people can kind of see what it does. But it has such wonderful effects that it's fun to see.
Okay, are you cool with the jacket?
Oh, I didn't even think about it. No, that's plenty open, maybe even a little bit more closed. Let's see. Do you mind if I position it to what I have here? That's actually, you just got it really close. That's plenty. That's
Is that
perfect.
good?
That works for me. I actually might change those two diagonals of her lapels.
Make
You see?
whatever decision, and then
Okay.
I will follow, because
All
I
right.
don't have it blocked in yet.
So I'm just going to flip open the side on your hand. See, because on those two parallel
Yeah.
spots, I'm going to pull that out. You just pull this out like this. How's that?
Beautiful.
Yeah?
Meanwhile, Matt and
Yeah, that's
Anand
great.
have been asking or going back and forth on whether or not, Louis, you are using any medium today, but also just in general during the challenge.
Yes. During the challenge, I've definitely used medium. I used lean medium made by Chelsea Classical Studio, and it is what I usually use to make a foundation layer because it dries decently quick. And I kind of often will paint with a wet layer underneath on my painting from layers style, where in addition to that, I'll build on top of it. And it helps everything dry really quickly, and it works really well. You can also use linseed oil and Gamsol. Tell you, it's been 20 days. So Gamsol to achieve the same look. But I use the lean medium just because I feel like as much solvent-free as I can be.
Has lavender oil in it.
Exactly, has the lavender oil in it instead of solvent, which not really great to probably have a whole lot of lavender oil just floating around your room anyway. But if it's in a bottle like that or smaller, I think you're going to be totally fine. I don't think there's any problems there. And then later, when I'm glazing, I will use oleogel. Or if, say, for example, the lead paint right now is just so thick and it's coming out like cement, I'll use it to loosen up the paint and make it more buttery. So that's what I use also in later layers that are more fat oriented. So going with the whole fat over lean concept. All right, I'm gonna just start putting down some chunky paint. The other thing that I think would be interesting is that the chunky paint down here sort of contrasting the sort of pristine, smooth skin that she has on her face. This is similar to how Lepage would paint. He'd paint all the other things in the environment super chunky and thick and textured, and then he would make the skin tones and the mark making on the face was super soft and subtle. So I think it adds a little bit to the piece if I do something like that. So I'm gonna also go with what I see here because I like some of the folds. They're just interesting and different. And so I'm gonna sort of draw this area. The beauty of having that foundation layer is that I can quickly and easily redraw the area because they're all closely to the same value.
And also the beauty of, since we're working from life, where the design of the coat will change, and you're taking advantage of these changes if it's a more beautiful design.
Yep, absolutely. I believe it was Bert Silverman who said one time at Portrait Society that painting from life is time saturated, and it's all these moments, these beautiful moments that we see that that we capture over a duration of time. So the difference, real big difference between like a photograph is in a moment in time, and working from life being time saturated. You get an opportunity to see all these different elements of a person's expression, of a person's gesture, and be able to pick and choose what seems to be consistently part of their identity and consistently beautiful for the poetry making of your painting. And I always loved that. I thought like that was a beautiful way of saying how important working from life can be. So time saturated. So, and he's just an amazing painter in his own right. I would say he's probably in his 90s now. He's up there with Max Ginsberg. I mean, the guy's a legend.
Louis, do you know what is in the Chelsea lean medium?
Yeah, it's basically just lavender oil and linseed oil, I believe. I don't think it's anything past that point. Let's see. It is a mixture of CCS linseed oil, extra pale cold pressed, combined with our CCS, meaning Chelsea Classical Studio. So don't worry about the CCS meaning anything special past the point of their brand. So linseed oil, extra pale cold pressed, combined with lavender spike oil essence. So down on it, it says it dries quickly, is resistant to yellowing, and is recommended for the early layers of painting. That's all it is. And that's why I say half and half of linseed oil and Gamsol works. It has the same property mixture, like the effect is the same. Is it too early for me to say I'm having fun?
Don't jinx it.
I don't know if anyone has seen, but I have a lovely portrait of me now on Discord where right underneath it says, I'm having fun. So I thought that was awesome and clever of someone.
I haven't seen it, but now I have a new rabbit trail to go down.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's been kind of an ongoing joke of this week of me just getting excited about what's happening and saying I'm having such a good time. And it's like, God, this is fun. Painting's fun. So it wouldn't be the final day if I didn't say it, you know. So one thing I am doing also is I'm like making all this texture in the top layer, and I'm going to keep building it up and building it up. But then in the lower, in the shadows, I'm going to keep it a little bit softer and less textured, and that's also going to create a dimensional aspect to the painting. I was running into an issue of making this like base, bottom, or mid layer too light, and wanted to kind of pull a few more dark notes down before I kind of built up even lighter on top of it.
Jermaine said this before break, and I think we were on Lewis's screen. I don't know if it's the screen I'm watching, but I definitely see purple in her skin, like a crimson purple.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's definitely some violet-y purples that are going on in her skin. I absolutely used manganese violet as part of one of my mixtures. So your eyes do not deceive you. So, and cameras are weird. You know, you can't, It doesn't matter how perfectly calibrated you have them. They're not going to give you the exact thing. It just will never do it justice to what is in real life. But it's the best we can do in order to have access to people around the world, you know. And part of the reason for doing the violet was that underneath is to help complement that skin tone.
For those of you who are online live right now, I'm curious how many of you are painting or are you just watching?
I have found that I think a lot of people love like getting inspired and then taking it back and working on it over the weekend or on the next day. So day delay has been at least what I've seen on Discord a lot. Like a couple people will paint while we're painting, but maybe doing the day before. We'll see if that's still true or if my theory is true.
Paul asks, what do you do when the portrait subject doesn't have flawless skin, like our current model?
I think, I think painting was the original Photoshop, to some degree. Mm-hmm. It's your painting, it's your poetry. So you get to choose what you want to leave in or take out. And, I think if there's some sort of like acne issue or something like that seems to be not a part of their beauty or identity of who they are. That's your choice, but I would make the choice sometimes to take it out, finding that it'd be helpful to better portray the person at their core, who they are deep down.
I think squinting will help you see what is a priority of like visually, and then because I think, for example, things like wrinkles and things where there's a lot of personality and character, you don't want to exaggerate it, yet you don't want to airbrush it away. And so I think squinting down at your model and then slowly opening your eyes so you can slowly start seeing what information comes out at you. And I think that'll show you the priority, I guess, of the information.
Kind of like filters the information.
Yeah. And so that way, like maybe some surface things that might shift here and there, like you can kind of blur away, but then some of the characterful aspects you can keep.
In conjunction with what you're saying, I think that often with those skin tones, because of squinting down, what that helps do is like compress it, right? And I think that a lot of people struggle. I wasn't even thinking about wrinkles. I was thinking more like acne.
Oh, yeah,
wrinkles
I was just adding another lens to it.
I think it was excellent. Mm-hmm. I'm adding to what you're saying because I think what you're saying is spot on. You're reading deeper into what they probably were really talking about. So to add to that, it helps you create an understanding of compression of your values. And because I think a lot of people will focus really closely on those wrinkles and make them much more contrasty than what they see. And so that just goes back to your point, which is like using like a dark mirror or squinting down helps you see truly what the relationship of those wrinkles are as a whole. I always talk about like the divots on a golf ball, where the ones that are closer towards the light are much lighter in divot than the ones that are closer towards the shadow. And the ones that are right on the edge of the shadow are probably the most contrasted. And so think about a person as they're in light and realize that those creases aren't nearly as dark or as deep as you think they are.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of a conversation Lewis and I we had 6 years ago about very loosely the difference between having professional photographs of your loved ones and versus having a painting of a loved one, and that paintings are really, they're capturing more of an era of somebody, whereas photography in many ways is truly a moment in time.
A moment in time,
It's-
yeah.
Which in both have I think, their artistic
Oh,
places.
they have their place.
Absolutely.
But that, yeah, really in painting, you get more of like an embodied experience of who somebody is and
I love
ideas.
calling it an era.
Yeah,
That's
an
really cool.
era and not
Yeah.
a moment.
I like that.
Yeah, I think if you focus a little bit more on capturing that versus exactly what you're seeing in a moment, you can come
Yeah.
out with a representation of who somebody is over time versus that day.
When I'm painting, I try to think about why am I doing this in oil paint versus some other medium? You know, whether it's could be drawing or whether it's photography, sculpture. You know, how can I take advantage of this being oil paint versus another medium?
Yeah.
And so I think about that a lot as I'm working on composition and the things that I think are beautiful in paintings. I think some obvious things are like texture and color and things that are, you know, oil painting is so rich in those areas, and so I want to make sure I kind of take advantage of it and, you know, just seeing all the different things that oil painting can do. And I think thematically as well, where you're saying it's capturing an era of a person versus a moment. It's different stories that you can tell.
All right, everybody, that's time. We will be back shortly. All right, everybody, we're back. Get back into it. All right, so we're going to do one more session where both of us are focusing a little bit more on the drapery. And then I'm going to move over. We're both going to probably move over to doing the hand, considering that both of those things require a lot of focus. We're trying to sync with each other to make sure we get them in right. So I'm going to make just a little bit of a shadow color. Considering that the white is decently warm and I'm representing it to be a bit more warm, I'm going to represent the shadow color being a hint more cool in some areas. Might even add a little bit of that cobalt teal to the mixture. And then I'm going to do the mixture a little bit different than the rest of the painting. I might make it a little bit more thin at first and see if I can come up with the right relationships. Say her sleeve is going to come out to about that far. I might even add a little bit of red to it. Let's see what that does. Here we go. This is one of those things where I'm making a color harmony judgment call versus exactly what I see. And this is just to add a touch more like fun color to the whole setup. Also kind of want to see what this green will do. See a lot of green in there. I'm just going to play with that and see kind of how it looks. See which one harmonizes better.
Matt asks, so about the medium, I'm curious now, do you have to follow the fat over lean when using paint from the tube? I've been led to believe that you don't need to add medium with that sort of application.
If you're just painting with paint coming right out of the tube only? Is that kind of the question?
Let me reread. Yeah, I think that's what he's asking. Do you have to follow the fat over lean when using paint from the tube?
If you
Matt,
only,
feel free to
if you
correct.
only use paint from the tube, then what you're basically doing is having the most lean that you can with paint, because every paint color, at least if the paint company is worth their salt, what they're doing is they're mixing only the amount of linseed oil necessary for the paint to be suspended properly. And at least that is what I have been trained and taught. And so basically you're starting with the most lean for each pigment color, which some pigment colors have more linseed oil than others because they need it, you know. So that there's always like a little bit of a depends situation there, but for the most part, that's that would be what to consider. Is you'd be fine.
Jolyn asks, what is Discord?
So Discord is just another chat app like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or anything like that, but it has a few more features that allow it to act more like a forum. So a lot of people use it to build community, and that's been our heart and goal for East Oaks is to build community. So it's a great platform for that kind of thing. It's a great platform for creators that want to like reach out to their constituents. So come join us. It's easy to download. The link is in the description below on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, if you go to YouTube, in fact, we could probably even put it a link of it in the chat. I can text it to Kelly, and she can put it in the chat too. So there's lots of ways for us to have that available for everyone. All right.
We wound up maybe 50-50 on whether people are painting live
Oh, cool.
or painting after. Alyssa says, I imbibe coffee as it's so early, watch the sunrise and absorb sponge-like everything Louis, Erica, et al. Are saying. Then I hit the studio.
That was Alyssa?
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa, she is so sweet. I'm going to go fly to Australia just to meet Alyssa. She has been our biggest cheerleader this whole time. And we've had some incredible cheerleaders. Sue and, the whole crew. There's quite a few of them. There's about a solid 8 to 10 people who have been really present this whole time. So this is a good moment to talk about lost and found. So lost and found is an edge term, or really it's a lot of different terms, but often used in edges, where there might be a situation where in order for something to look entertaining, you want to find a dynamic line quality. And so line quality on edges can be very interesting for our eyes. So a lost and found, for people who don't know, is where you will go on an edge and you'll have the edge indicated, and then you'll lose the edge in a way that might not necessarily have much edge there, which would be like right here would be a lost edge. But because of the continuation of this calligraphic mark and this calligraphic mark together, your eye connects the two. So it makes it very entertaining for you to look at. And it's a great way to build beauty in another dimensional way in your painting. You can have hard and soft, impasto and lean and thin paint. And then another one is hard and soft edges, or also connected to that lost and found edges. So it also is an area where, like, say you have some sort of sphere or portrait turning away into a shadow. Great, for example, would be like maybe this area where there's a found edge here, but there's a lost edge here. But your eye puts that edge in there because it knows that the rest of that face is continuing up into the hairline. So, it's a helpful way to create another bit of poetry in your work.
Paul says, Discord may be free, but was built for techies, not easiest for tech newbies.
Yeah, I can understand. When I got on, I was like feeling like I'm the very beginning, I'm an old millennial, and I was starting to feel my age when I first got on there, because I was like, how does this stuff work? It was with that voice too, oh.
Little back creak to go
Yeah,
with it.
exactly.
Yeah.
All my joints popping.
Yeah. Well, I'm a medium millennial, and I struggled with it too, so.
There you go.
Julie asks, Louis, what is the big pile of orange-yellow paint to the right on your palette? Transparent oxide yellow?
Orange-yellow paint to the left of my palette?
Oh, to the, sorry, I lost the comment. Right.
To the right of the
I
palette.
think you just hovered.
This one.
Mm-hmm.
That is Naples yellow.
Naples yellow.
Yeah, I use it a lot in my skin tones. So it's just a really fantastic tinting strength to it, where it can handle a bully. We've talked about bullies a couple of times on this group, but basically some colors have really strong tinting power, meaning when you mix them, they can just dominate the mixture and be really hard to control because they're such a powerful color. And then there's other, and we call those bullies. And then there's other colors that have a very low tinting strength and are very weak when you mix them. So you have to mix like an entire pile into like a small color in order for it to shift the color at all. So the reason I like it is because my alizarin crimson often can be overpowering, and it balances really well. They have about the same tinting power, so it's easier to control the two of them because it's kind of a 1-to-1 ratio to get them balanced. So here's another area where I can like lose the edge here and then find it again as we come down to the bottom there. And what that does is it makes the shirt look like it's kind of dipping closer to the edge of this part of the coat. Very similar to how this is happening over here. I see this like little bright note on the other side of her hand, so I'm going to just put that in because I think it's interesting. So I'm just going to put that there, and it's just a fun little mark that helps kind of define the hand area. Erica, how's Dream living over there? Doing all right?
What can I say?
Yeah. What can I say?
Painting drapery is hard.
Today is a special day for Erica.
True story.
True story. It is Erica's birthday, everybody. You should make sure to wish her the happiest of birthdays.
Send all your love notes through. I will relay them. I will not lead the online chat in a group happy birthday, as I will be the only audible one, but
That does almost call for an applause, though. So I might just have to step over here. So, and everyone, happy birthday to Erica. Woo! I should have put a happy birthday song in there.
Should have worn a hat.
I think we could superimpose one on, maybe in some After
With the
Effects.
text, yeah.
Oh, we got this. We got this.
Got lots of happy birthday messages coming through.
Oh, thank you.
We thought, like, how serendipitous that the final day with Erica, lovely Erica, that it would be on the same day as her birthday.
It was meant to be.
That's right.
I'm not loving my coat solution here, but we have a limited amount of time and I have a hand to paint.
Last time I checked, Jemiah said she'll be here for 7 hours. so.
Yeah. I'm sure
She's
she'll be
willing
cool
to
with
come
that.
back through the weekend.
Yep.
Jemiah, you're doing so well that several times I have looked up and thought, oh, where did the camera go?
Yeah.
Is this the reference image we have up? No, then you get a little blink.
I scared myself one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has been a statue and just the perfect model to end this whole thing with. Yeah, one of the things is I've always considered with doing like multiple days is like, you know, scared that it'd feel a little boring because like we're working on like all these tiny little details. But we've had multiple people, not only today, but also been like, you know, we'd love to see you like work on like the details beyond like the block end. So it's like, okay, all
There we
right.
go.
Your wish is our command. Let's make it happen. the great thing about like painting texturally is like if something goes wrong, like you can totally go and just, you know, do another chunky bit of texture on top of that and, you know, hopefully make it all work.
Keyword, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, fingers crossed. I say this, then I'm like, oh, gotta make sure I'm holding true to what I say.
Like I don't want, I'll probably have to spend time later on this coat.
It's okay, we can do another round. We can come back to it
I
later.
need to do the hand, and I know that's going to take me some time. So.
Right. Yeah, we can, like, at the end, if you find that we have more time because all of a sudden you're like, I can make an amazing hand, then we'll go back.
I hope that's what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to bank on it.
Erica, I know you just touched on it a little bit, but Alyssa did ask before all of the birthday accolades. How is Erica approaching the drapery?
So I am trying to not, I'm trying to just think of it abstractly a bit, just so I have design. And then I'm thinking about it in general form. But I know that it needs to be secondary to the face. So I don't want to have too much contrast, and I don't want to have colors that are not related to the rest of the painting. So I made sure when I mixed my colors that the shadows were similar and had some of the background in it and were consistent, and that there are bits of the skin tone and bits of the background into the lights. But I think that that's generally how I'm approaching it, but I'm just not happy with my paint application. So, and I want to make sure that I have the anatomy working underneath the coat, so making sure I understand her shoulders, the planes of the chest. That way it feels like the coat is sitting on a body and not just like hanging there. So a lot of things to keep in mind. And it's white, and so it's throwing me off a bit with what my colors are going to be. So that's the challenge of painting drapery, as you've already gone over on the drapery day. But again, I'm not trying to think of it as being separate from any other material. Like anything, it has form. There are light planes, shadow planes, and transitions. And so ideally, I would work more on edges, conveying the texture of the coat, and then some of like the texture of the paint itself, conveying the texture of the coat. But I just need more time to work some of these relationships out, and I know that I need to prioritize the hand. So I'm not necessarily loving my first decisions that I've made, and sometimes, even though the principles are, simple, sometimes it takes time to work them out in paint.
Yeah.
And for anybody who is also just joining us today or this week, we did cover drapery on day 5. That was Lewis and Tina painting, but far more in depth there also.
Yeah, drapery's hard, man. It's that's one of the reasons we made it a challenge, or in one of our things, because I think some people are just even scared to push into that world because it's hard to see, like if you're doing a white sheet, how to like make it have form and depth, and so yeah, it's a tough one. And can trip up even the best painters.
In the name of challenges, I'm curious, both for people online, but also Lewis and Erica, what is something that you just, and maybe it doesn't exist, but what is something that you totally dread about approaching a painting?
Ooh.
That's a good question. So maybe it's not something I dread when approaching any painting, but there's certain flowers that I'm giving myself some space to develop my skill before attacking.
Oh man.
And that would include the peony, the devil's flower, because it will open and change color like in an hour.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like again. So I would love to be able to paint them. I'm working on it. I won't avoid it forever, but that is a challenge for sure.
And is part of that challenge intentionally not taking a reference photo of it, but to learn to work with it as it moves, or is that part of the learning process?
Part of, I think, the learning process, it comes with the, because it's changing so quickly, you need to have brushstrokes that imply the petal versus being literal with the drawing. And then also, I'm trying to build more, or like when I mix up my colors, I want it to be faster. And then I want them to be more accurate more quickly. And that way, I can just paint and draw versus like questioning my color mixtures.
And on
Is that
that
a break?
note, yes, that was great.
Let's do
And
it.
we're going to switch over to break. And if we have any more insights on that, we will bring them to you after the break. All right, everyone, we are back. And we're going to switch over for a little bit on the hands. The big thing I'm going to work on is softening the correct edges, and luckily this part of my painting is dry enough for me to like put my finger down as a fulcrum, which is nice. So I'm just going to add a little more pink to the fingers. To help give them a little bit more depth. But the other thing I want to make sure I'm not doing is I don't want to add too much more detail. So if I'm going to put stuff down, I want to keep it abbreviated because I like how compressed and like the attention to it. It looks relatively accurate, but it doesn't feel like it's overpowering the subject in the face. And that's important to me. But it's nice because I have her finger back here kind of kicked up. And yesterday we didn't have it like that while we were painting the hands. And so it's nice because I can go in and then like hit like not only the crease of the back of the hand, but also like how it connects to the side of her face. There's like a little bit of a dark shadow notch that goes deeper in that part of the face, and that helps me know like how I can push her skin in where it feels like there's a pressure point there.
Matt did write Erica a little birthday ditty. I'm trying to understand if this is sung to the tune of Happy Birthday. I don't think so. It says, yo, 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 happy B-Day to Erica. You're one of the best painters in America. Here's to you having some ice cream and cake. You make painting look easy while I always am making a mistake.
Oh, that's
Thank
awesome.
you. That was really clever.
Boy, thank you for all these ditties. He's kind of done one many of the days that we've on the later side of things. It's been awesome.
After the coffee kicks in. Moonsoon asks, guys, do you have moments of self-doubt as an artist? How do you deal with it? Did you say all the time?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Didn't even
Question
finish
isn't
like
even done.
Yeah. Today, yesterday, the day before, was like, last month. There, you know.
It's a challenge. Sorry, I'm working on the hand, so my brain is. So, it's part of the what we're doing. You know, we have to criticize our work. We are constantly comparing ourselves to people who are more skilled and have worked on things longer and have been painting longer and all of these things. So ultimately, it's most important for you to, basically everyone else is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Their journeys are things you can learn from, but you are on your own path and you have to just work with what you have, take advantage of what you have, and just keep learning. And I find that that's kind of the best way forward, because you can get caught up in comparing yourself to others, but ultimately it's just a waste of your time and a waste of your energy, and it becomes completely irrelevant because they have their own things and you have your things.
Yeah, and on the one hand, you are only where you are at, and that can be a struggle.
Yep.
That is also, I think, your greatest contribution to your art. You are only, you're the only person that can create with your particular voice
Yep.
and gaze. And
It was beautiful from both of you. You know, I think that she said, Erica, you're saying like to compare yourself in a way to aspire to always push to be better and greater. And there's that tightrope walk of making sure that you're not using it to devalue the beauty that you're capable of creating in your stage of painting, because everyone could get better. I mean, one of the things I love to talk about is Einstein on his deathbed was still working out the equations of the universe. He talked about how trying to simplify, and he never was satisfied with the equations he already made because some of them still couldn't compute, even though some of his theories have like revolutionized the entire world, and we're still using them today to find magnetic waves and to use like our gravitational waves and to like see all these different things that have been unraveled just from some simple theories that he had created earlier on. And yet, all the way to the end, he was completely unsatisfied with some of his endeavors. You know, it's easy for us to be in that point, and there needs to be a small amount of unrest to push us forward, but not enough to kill the beauty that we should understand about our work and how much people appreciate the work that we're doing. You know. And I just think that was beautifully said.
I think one of our best kept content secrets is a really beautiful documentary we did with Jeff Larson a few years ago. And in it, he says so eloquently, where you are and where you want to be, you'll never get there.
Yep.
And I think once you know that, it becomes really inspiring versus being a struggle.
And if y'all don't know Jeff Larson's work, you got to look it up. He is an amazing painter.
There's also a point where you decide to remove the ego from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a failed painting doesn't mean you were a failure as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're getting snaps from Jemima, which I totally agree.
And when you allow yourself that, then you can learn for the joy of learning and discovery and curiosity, and versus the stress of not being good enough.
Erica, I'm stealing your towels,
Go for
like
it,
I said
yeah,
earlier.
At least that's my experience with it.
Absolutely. And as a non-painter, I think I lived for a long time with a narrative that this creating art is a gift. You know, you're gifted with it, and that you have to hone that gift, but that it's mostly something that is a little intrinsic and kind of born with it. And I think the longer I have watched so intimately all the artists here and their own journeys and approaches, it has become painfully obvious to me that there is no such thing as just being gifted. The tenacity, the grit, the struggle is something I see all of you move through and push through, in a way that it's really inspiring, and I think it just drives home the point that it's so much work. It's so much release of ego and outcome. Moonsoon says, "Thank you. You cheered me up." Reese also says, "Erica, join the Discord."
Also, like, I have to figure out what it is too, and then
You and me both. We can have a Discord day.
yeah.
Yeah. I actually I talked to Chelsea, you know, about like, look, I don't know anything about Discord. We need to get it on there. She's like, it's so easy. And it was like, walked me through like 5 or 6 steps. And then Tina walked me through 5 or 6 steps. And it's like, okay, oh yeah, no, we got this. Yet again, it's like starting oil painting or something. The fear itself is worse than it actually is. But it still has its own, still a little scary for some people. I get it.
Louis, what are some of the ways that you deal with doubt, self-doubt?
Ooh. You know, I think that the biggest thing for me with self-doubt is sometimes I feel like I'm saying this because I feel like it'd be very helpful for some people out there at least. When I have the most self-doubt is if I have spent too much time on social media looking at how prolific the world is at getting stuff out and feeling like I'm not producing enough, I'm not actually, other people are better at doing social media than I am or something like that, and the biggest thing is that, people are, if you follow 1,000 people, then you're going to see work being done every day. And each one of those people are probably not making work that quickly. It's just because I follow so many people, it looks like they are. And so I have found that what helps me is making sure that I'm in life balance. And that, for some reason, like it's a counterintuitive way of saying, like what most people would think it'd be like, oh, do this or think about your work in this way. Well, for me, it's really about making life balance happen. And when I'm in balance, I'm much more comfortable with my stage of life and where I am. And then I have this like motto in my head that, it sounds a bit morbid, but it's more on like a stoic manner, which is like in light of eternity, like each one of us has a certain amount of significance we put into it. But at the same time, the amount of time we spend doing something, we need to make sure that we're at least passionate about whatever we're doing. Because for me, it's about investing into people, and that helps my self-doubt, because it's like, as long as I help one person want to be inspired to be a better person, or as long as one person out there loved my paintings and it was helping them get through whatever it was or create a memory to somebody they loved, then that's all that matters to me, And so that's what like East Oaks is founded on, is that idea of like creating a community, because it might not be just in painting, it might be in investment. And I actually find more life value and get excited more about my paintings when I'm investing with people than I do just like being by myself making paintings. So there's this old saying where this guy goes out to the beach and he sees all of these dead starfishes washing up on shore. And there's like millions of starfish washed up on shore. And then there's this one guy out there and he's throwing some of the starfish back into the ocean. And he's just walking down and he's throwing more starfish. And the guy comes up to him and he's like, what are you doing? You're not going to have enough time in life to be able to throw all of these starfish out and help all of the starfish. And he goes, nope, but I helped that one. And I love that, because the mentality for me is what I wish I could do for many, I do for a few. And I might not be able to help all the starfish out there, but if I can help one, then I feel like my life has value. And so it's probably more than you wanted in an answer, but that's what I got.
No, that's beautiful. Peter Singer is, actually, Alyssa, this one's for you. He is an Australian philosopher in ethics, and he has a lot of really potent thought experiments and literature out around exactly what you just said, Louis. Like what we can do is help, do what we can to help and support people. And if everybody did that, everybody would be better off. Yeah. Alyssa says all of us are starfish. Thanks, Louis.
Oh. I was on the phone, and that means a lot for y'all to say that. But I was on the phone with Shane Neal, who's the president of Portrait Society, and we were talking about mentorship, because he was writing an article on mentorship, and the one thing I was telling him was like, the odds of me becoming a painter that is in like the Met 100 or 1,000 years from now is like, number one, that's not going to be decided. That's going to be decided by somebody 150 years after I'm dead. And on top of that, if that's like my goal in being a painter, then the chances of hitting that goal are very slim. And so it'd be hard for me to use that as a good purpose-driven goal in mind. And so instead, for me, it's like, if I can help one person and devote my time to one person or like 3 people, and then they go and help 3 people, and then they in turn help another 3 people. Well, about 5 generations of helping people down the line, you've helped millions of people. And in that group, somebody is going to change the world and influence the world with their art. And somebody is going to be in a museum because you cared about somebody at the very beginning of that tree. And so I have bet my life on it, that's worth fighting for. That's worth my time. I feel like right there at the end, it's more of like a Forrest Gump moment where I'm like, well, that's all I have to say about that. I kind of like these ripples on this side of her jacket, and I've kind of moved back down to the jacket. I should have like made sure I've got everything the way I wanted up in the hand. There's like one more little
Well, I'm going to need
highlight.
more time on the hand.
You keep on going because the cast shadow that the hand is creating is what I need, so.
Cool.
You spend as much time as you want there. It doesn't change anything else about the rest of the painting.
How does it feel being 3 days into a painting after 20 days of knocking out a single painting a day?
Erica?
Yeah, that's been me.
Feels incredible. I'm so happy of like not having to do a one-off day again.
The next painting from life will be too soon. Is that
Yeah.
what I'm hearing?
No, it'll never too soon, but I am excited about having a weekend break before I hit the ground running on other projects.
A whole 2 days.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go. It's funny, actually, I am working tomorrow to continue working on getting some of these lights up, but there will be some fun play dates with my Rosie, my sweet little dog. And we're gonna go maybe out to the disc golf course, and she gets to sniff all the trees, and I get to throw a disc into a basket. And that's a pastime for us.
A little father-daughter bonding, if you will.
Yep. She's my only daughter, so I'm gonna spend as much time with her in her short life as I can.
I don't know that you saw the text, but I did text you last week. I think it was a little Twitter that said the challenge I'm doing this month is called Oaktober, and it's where I just try to get through every day of October.
Oh, yes, that was awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, some of my favorite memes are like, the polar bear that's like dragging just with it, like his front legs are down on the ice and he's just pushing himself with his back hind legs. And it's like, this is how I'm ending the October month, just trying to get to the end. That's so good.
And we have a comment. I'm 51. I've been drawing since as far as I can remember. Painting, I find difficult. Is this normal? Stupid question, I know. Not a stupid question.
It is normal.
Yep.
I know I need to practice, but I feel like I'm too old now to learn it. No.
My antidote there always is that if you've never heard of Grandma Moses, she was one of the most prolific painters in American history, and yet she started at 85 painting.
That's awesome.
And she's a folk painter, so her work is not like fine art, but the key there is that you're never ever too old. I think is it Colonel Sanders with Kentucky Fried Chicken? Is that Colonel Sanders?
I think so.
That, yeah. He started his company doing fried chicken at 78, I think, or 75. And so like there is so much more wonderful, vibrant life to live. And so with that is you don't have to be a master. You have to just use it as, if you feel like it's going to bring value to your life, then do it. And it doesn't matter if it turns out perfect. That's not the goal. Sometimes it's just therapeutic, you know.
I also think that from having taught workshops where the age range is wide of my students, I've seen, like I taught a 6 weeks course where I've seen people of all ages improve over 6 weeks.
Yep.
So to me, I like to, I know it's kind of blunt and practical, but it's, you know, if you want to learn, if you want to keep going, like you can do it.
All right, everybody, with that, we are at our another 20-minute break, and we will see y'all shortly in 5 minutes. And we are back.
All right, so with the hand, can you bring it gently out? Yep. And then with your fingers, gently lift them. A little bit more. So it's more of, it's more like these are straighter, sorry. Okay. Yep. And then with your, lift it up like that, and basically bringing your wrist gently forward. Yes, that's good. Thank you. I know it's not easy to be positioned.
But our model's a professional, so she's got it. She is rock solid. So I'm just going in and finding a little moment to like crease this part of the drawing to make the coat just have, I see something that feels really interesting and I just want to put it in as part of the coat because I think it's nice. So there's like this interesting fold that's happening up there in the collar area. Just want to make sure it feels like that part is in shadow and is conveying exactly how the form is moving. So just going through, fixing all the things.
We have a backlog of questions and comments, so I'm going to get to everybody. But backing up just a little bit, how many hours a day did you guys practice when you were still learning the fundamentals?
I can explain what the schedule was at school.
Yeah, do that.
At Florence Academy. So basically, you have a first session running from 9 a.m. to noon, and that is devoted towards either, let's just say it's your time to work on your still life painting or portrait painting or cast drawing, that studio time. And then you have the afternoon session running from 1 to 4, and that is your model room time. So you have a figure drawing or painting every day from in the afternoon, as an example. And then after that, there's evening drawing running from 5 to 7, and you're expected to go to that. You have your group's day, which is, let's just say it's Tuesday, and then the other half will be on, let's say, Wednesday. So you're expected to attend both, but you'll have an easel and a critique on your day. And then there's a class such as crochet, anatomy. Those are also from 5 to 7, more or less. Maybe longer for crochet, but you have those lectures to attend. And essentially, and then, depending on what year you're in, you might go to an extra evening drawing class, or you also will attend extra anatomy classes, and then on Friday there's an art history lecture. And so, added up over 3 years, I don't know how many hours that is, but that was my academic training in a nutshell. And so essentially, when I was a student, they said, as long as you show up every day, you're going to improve. And I really appreciated that, that description, because if you put time into it, you're going to get better. And so I don't know if there's necessarily what is that, the 1,000 hours in order
the 10,000 hour thing.
yeah,
rule.
yeah, 10,000 hours. I think there's definitely something to that. But I think any time that you can invest in something, you're feeding it. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I started so young and I was doing so much. It's hard to count kind of the hours I would do a day. But there are seasons of my life, because I started doing portraits for people in middle school. So I started really young, and because I was actually doing it as commission work, it to some degree was kind of easier to be disciplined with it, because people were paying me to do their portraits. So, but with all that being said, is that when you got to high school, I was big into sports and did all sorts of extra things. So I wasn't necessarily doing as much then, unless I was like in art class, and I only took one art class my senior year. And so most of the time I was just doing commission work. But when I went to the Atelier later on, that was a much more focused, much more similar to Erica's experience, and was incredibly helpful. But it was 8 to 5 every day, all day long, and was worth it. Every bit of it was worth it. So if you can do that, I mean, it's basically you're taking an intensive workshop for months, and you can work out a lot of problems with your work that way.
And then every project that I paint it always informs my next painting. I always take every painting as a learning experience. And to me, one of the indicators of when a painting is finished is if I've learned something from it. And so that applies, for example, to the ones that don't work out so well and that don't go on Instagram, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to abandon work, but I like to bring it to a point of, as long as I've learned something from it, then I can let it go. Or I'll try to bring it to at least that point. Or a point of like, okay, I've resolved this problem that was, not working in the painting.
Yeah, Erica's one of the most determined people I know when it comes to like getting, she will grab the painting by the horns and wrestle it to the ground to get some understanding and some insight, and highly admire that.
I'm not a quitter.
Yeah. I ain't no quitter.
I'm joking, but I do. It just bothers me. I can't just like abandon a painting. Mm-hmm. I have one in the studio that I did abandon, and it's bothering me so much.
What is it of?
It's just a little still life that I did, and I didn't have the lighting quite worked out, and so, and then I was painting these anemones, and they were opening and closing in front of my eyes.
Yeah, that's the worst.
I'm like, oh, you're moving this way, and you're moving back. It's been an hour. Okay.
Like, oh man.
Kind of like the peony thing, and so, it was certainly a challenge, and like I said, I didn't have my lighting quite worked out, so it just was one of those things where I'm like, okay, diminishing returns in terms of investment in this project, where I should just move on to something else, but it bothers me that I didn't finish it. And so maybe one of these days I'll just do something, do something with it.
Yeah.
Well, this actually segues nicely into another question. Does anyone have any tips on drawing from imagination? I could have a clear picture of an idea, but when I try to draw it, it tends to look terrible and it disheartens me. And that, I think, connects to what you're talking about, because you would have to work a little bit from imagination trying to repaint these anemones that you cannot
Sure.
repaint now, but also in the moment when you're trying to paint a flower, or any living object,
Yeah.
really, that there's some...
I think painting from imagination is absolutely like its own skill.
Yeah, it's a whole other animal.
For sure. And so I've tried to do some drawing from imagination just for my own self in my own sketchbook. And I try to think of it as like a separate thing. So I'm not trying to compare it to the things that I do from life or things that I've spent a long time on, stuff like that. So if it's a little hazy, a little vague, it's like, yeah, I did it from imagination. But we were talking about this. I took a composition class back when I was in Florence Academy, and one of the exercises we had to do was to draw our long post, our figure drawing or figure painting, from imagination or from memory. And we've been staring at this thing for so long. It's been a couple weeks now, so many hours of staring at it. So you should have a decent understanding of what the pose was, the lighting and everything like that. But it's incredible because it illuminates how much you don't know and what you don't understand. And it can be an incredibly useful tool for figuring out, what should I study and what should I improve on? Like, what anatomy do I not understand? Try to draw it from imagination.
Yeah. Imagination, to go exactly with what Erica's saying, because everything she said is just spot on. But drawing from imagination, the first couple of things I would say is understand the physics of what would happen if you were doing it from life. So when you go out, the best way to learn from imagination is to first understand what's happening in life in front of you. So like if you're painting a figure, you better understand anatomy. You better understand it really well, and then you should be able to understand how things work three-dimensionally in space. And
like
so to use
Yeah.
using the understanding, like for example, like if you're to do the rib cage and the pelvis, the most basic way of doing it is to have it in a cube format. Well, in a cube format, it's your basic way of setting things up for imagination. So like I would make a cube for the face, a cube for the rib cage, and a cube for the pelvis, and then have the gesture of something happening off of those. And if you look at all the old master sketches and drawings from like all the way back to like Da Vinci, you'll see that their wash drawings that they would do, their ink drawings, are all just a bunch of cube figures. And that's how you have to start. And because if you understand that and you understand how light affects a cube, a sphere, and a cone, then you can understand so much about how to paint from imagination. But if you want to like really understand how the arm is going to work in a situation or something like that, you better know how the muscles connect to the bones, and you better understand the volumes that exist on the figure. So paint from life to learn for imagination. Best thing I can tell you to do.
The premise was also a little different. We had day 10 of the challenge was on using imagination, and that was to take a black and white image and paint with color. And so I think
that's what the heart was.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, no, you answered the question. I'm adding this for them in case
gotcha.
they missed day 10, that it wasn't necessarily about drawing from imagination, but that a lot of the techniques and ideas that were shared on that day, I think are still applicable, just as a resource to go back and watch.
A lovely little crease across her sleeve that I want to grab it and get in. 'cause I like how it flows across. Just adds something else that's even more interesting on that side of the painting.
We have a comment. Lewis, your commitment to the development of others is humane and humble. At the end of the day, fame and glory is never the goal. Kinship in art and anything else is the goal. Congrats to a life well lived.
Oh, thank you. One of my role models when he passed, like the amount of people that were at his funeral that were talking about the legacy that he left, and me being one of the people, and his son being one of the people who have carried on the baton of his legacy as a portrait painter. And he was just the most humble man, and I admired that so deeply that it's something that I try to aspire to be. You know, you never let a single word you said drop to the ground. Always be so interested in what you had to say. And if you see any of that, it's just me trying to keep his spirit alive. His name was Marshall Bolden. He was just a fabulous painter. And I appreciate it. It's humbling to hear.
Speaking of fabulous painters, we also have a question for either of you. Also, I think people in the chat were getting into it too. Who are some of the most underrated painters that you know of?
Underrated.
Well, you never heard of them.
I think I have to really think about that.
Yeah. You know, I always think about, I watched this play a while back called Something Rotten, and it was a comedy about Shakespeare, and during Shakespeare time, how all these other playwrights just didn't even have a chance because he was such a star in that world. And yet he was also known for, it was highly speculative that he was known for stealing other people's ideas and making them into his plays, like that it was a possible collaboration. So the basis of this play was off of that idea that he was like a superstar, but really what he was a master, had mastered the ability to take someone else's idea before they made it famous and worked on it. So he plays this like rock star character that can do no wrong, and he walks around very pridefully. But the reason I bring that up is that none of the other playwrights at the time really even had a chance. They could have been a genius, and we would have never known because, you know, he was always in the limelight. And I feel that way with artists sometimes, where we talk about, you know, the Rembrandts and the Sargents and Soroyas of the world, but that I walk into the museum and I see a painting that I don't even know that artist's name, and the painting is phenomenal. I'm like, how do I not even know this guy? You know, and so I would have to open my phone to show some of the pictures I had taken of some of these artists. What's the artist's name that did the horses at the market, the huge painting at the Met? Rose something, female painter?
I don't remember.
Oh my goodness. The you know, the one with the big white horses, like this massive painting.
Rose von Hewer.
Yeah. I mean, talk about an unsung hero. I mean, she's a hero in the sense that she's in the Met, but at the same time, like, probably doesn't have the name that these other people do. And that painting, I could just look at it all day. It's
I
just
think you could poll most artists and they wouldn't know that name.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, she's incredible. So, okay, that is our time. We will think about some of those artists and get back to you. All right, everybody, we are back.
And tell me what you need for adjusting.
I don't need anything. I'm
Are you
good.
working on the coat?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm working on the coat. I might put the coat, I might tell her to like just connect it a little bit more, you know. Yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
cool.
That's all I need.
All right. We're gonna leave it right where it is. Thank you.
So we're looking at only about 40 minutes left of all of East Oaktober. Look at that, everyone. This is incredible. See if I can put in one more line to represent this part of her coat. Same idea. As it kind of comes out of the shadow. I'm talking about like a vampire as he comes out of the shadow into the light. Hey, at least I got a snicker from Kelly.
I'm like so focused on this hand.
Hey, no. I don't expect you to be Latin giggling at my really bad jokes. It's all right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here for your pure entertainment. Just flew in from Chicago, ladies and gentlemen, and boy, are my arms tired. Of course, I don't even have to do the ba-dum-bum. She can do a rim shot for me right on there.
Oh, I see. We have crickets.
Yeah. Push one of the buttons, Kelly.
Yeah, which button am I going to push? Air horn. That's intense. I'll spare everyone the air
Yeah.
horn. Okay, make another joke.
Give me
and we'll do a
one rim shot, you know. Now, don't press it up there. That it's correlated to those colored buttons on the right.
Okay, should I press home?
Mhm.
Okay.
Press home. There you go. Now, see the corresponding buttons on the right are the same colors as the things. There you go.
Handy. Okay, I can't
There you go.
wait to use that one.
We got to be careful because all of a sudden Kelly's going to really get into this.
It's why I'm here,
Yep.
actually. It's just for the sound effects. If a potential client commissioned you for a painting but asked you for a price breakdown or an explanation of how you came up with that price, should you tell them or is it okay to keep it to yourself?
Ooh, interesting question.
I have so many responses, but I don't think they're asking me. So
No, well,
you
I
go.
absolutely. You know, you can totally respond too. I think that the biggest thing is that the first thing I would say is if you're looking for a breakdown of time, then you're looking your perspective of what is valuable to me or what is valuable about my work is skewed because you wouldn't go to a doctor's office and say the amount of time that you spent with me, you wouldn't ask them for an hourly rate and to break it down of why that's valuable, because so much of it is about the training that they went through. So what I would end up telling them is this is what I know that my work is worth and what I believe my work is worth. And to be absolutely, you have to get okay with yourself and comfortable with yourself enough to just be able to say, it's okay if you can't afford it. There are people that are making work or it's okay if you don't find the value in it. There are people making work that you will be able to buy according to what you think it's worth. But I know that I'm worth this. I'll never forget, I had this judge in Texas that I was doing a piece for. And I had done, in my early career, I had done a portrait of his daughter. And I didn't understand how to haggle, and I never had to worry about that because people would just pay what I was charged or what I charged. And he came and he was one of my dearest friends' father. And I was at a place where I was desperate for commissions. It was one of my friends' people, their parents, and I wanted to make sure to make her happy and everyone happy. And what happened was, it haggled me down to something that was like beyond lower than minimum wage of like what would be capable of making that painting. And I was like, if he ever comes to me for another portrait commission, I'm gonna make sure that never happens again. Because it actually hurt my time working on other commissions that I was getting at the time. So later, after I had finished my training and I was a much more known painter, he came back for asking for another commission. And I said, okay, this is the price. And the price was almost 10 times more than he originally paid for the painting originally. And he's like, wow, these are outrageous prices. I was like, I understand, but this is what I'm worth. I've done 10 years of training. I know that this is my value, and this is what my market rate is. And he's like, well, but considering that we're friends, and he started going down that road, I was like, so you're telling me that the second time that you've called me in 15 years and the conversation you're having, I was like, what do you think I should be charging you? And he's like, oh, probably. And he gave me a number that was about $8,000 less. And I said, so you're telling me that my relationship with you is so good that I should give you $8,000 of this painting of my time to do for you? And he's like, well, okay, well, let me just consider it. And I was like, here's my price, and if you don't want it, you can find someone else that will do for you for that price. And I just stayed firm. It was one of the first times I ever stayed firm on something like that. He called me an hour later and said, okay, we're going to do it for that price. So, it just goes to show you need to just stay solid on your value and know what your value and your training is worth, Kelly, add to it.
I mean, that was all very well said. I think there's an idea often when we ask for what we know our time and our product is worth, that people do want an hourly breakdown or a justification of it. But what people are paying for isn't the maybe 10-hour or 12-hour portrait that they got. They're paying for the years and years you've spent investing in something. Or I think another applicable example is for a lot of people, let's say in event organizing or something that's like a really hands-on task. An event might be 4 hours, and it may have taken them, 20 or 30 hours to plan it. But the reason they could do it that quickly is because they spent hours and hours learning how to do something fast. But that, I think, is also a totally separate conversation from, transparency around things like income. And both of those are really important. They're just very different things. So I think being able to open up with people about how much we make and why helps to really dissolve issues and questions around, wage discrepancies based on age and gender and race and religion. But at the same time, then having to over-justify what you're making or to explain to somebody your own journey and investment in developing a skill is totally unnecessary.
And yeah, that was so well said. With that is just like, there's somebody out there that can do it for that price. You're welcome to go find them, and just be happy about, because sometimes, say for example, you have a painting and you're going to sell it for a fourth of the price of your other paintings. That is 4 times the amount of work you have to do to make that back and sell 100% of it. Well, I'd rather make 4 times more work and then only have 1/4 of the people buy it and get myself in that same position. And then as you make more more people purchase at that price point, then you say if you only sold half of it, well, then you're still making twice as much for that 4 times amount of work than you would have if you just sold it for 1/4 of the price. So sometimes you have to like consider that value as well. And like you said, the better you are at something, the faster you get at it. And the faster you get at it, the better, the more value you have on it. And so that's sometimes why time shouldn't be correlated with the price point, is because then you're rewarding somebody for being slower, so. There are definitely times where it makes sense, and then there are definitely times where it doesn't.
Mia from Sweden, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for this wonderful series of lives this month. It has been very much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. It has been such a pleasure to do this with everyone.
Other than through galleries and Instagram, do you know other ways artists can sell their art? Instagram used to be great, but it has changed, and the new algorithm hates me.
Well, I hate that for you.
Yeah.
Because I understand that can be so frustrating. Okay, so I don't sell anything on Instagram. If any of you follow me, you realize how little I post. My entire business model is none of those models. My entire business model is based off of a network of people that know people themselves. And, so like if somebody sees my work in their home and they go, oh my gosh, that's beautiful, who made that? And they go, oh, Louis Carr made that. And here's his number if you want something done. They're like, oh, I want him to do my father, husband, child, whatever. That is a I call it the guerrilla marketing format, and it has served me very well. It takes a long time to build a network, but those are roots. If you can make roots deep, you can survive recessions and anything that's happening in the economy, because I have multiple networks in multiple cities set up, and that has been very, very helpful. Number 2, agency. If you have a quality product that an agency is ready to represent you, it is far better than the gallery business model. The gallery business model, for me personally, I consider it a marketing tactic. I do not consider it a business model, a profitable business model for the purpose of just making money. I consider it a way to get your name out to a new demographic of people in a different region of the country, or to be published. What I consider to be better is as an agency, because you might be still, they still might be making a 60-40 cut, which is common. 50-50 to 60-40 is a common cut from a gallery. But once they make an order for you, it's already sold. You don't have to worry about it selling. And so all you have to do is paint it. And then on top of that, you never have to pay for shipping. All shipping goes through, is on the client, and all the framing price point is on the client. So you never have to worry about either one of those on you. Whereas when you work for a gallery, you have to pay for the frame, you have to pay for shipping, and then you get at best a 60% cut, and often a 40% or a 50% cut. So in some ways is shooting yourself in the foot if that's your only business model. But if you're looking at it as a marketing scheme, then it works out way better. So look into agency and then just start painting your friends, and see what happens. Because I find that, or paint somebody. One of the things I would love to do, and this is not for strategy or anything, but often you only paint a particular demographic of people, and I would love to paint people that are not in that demographic. And so just paint somebody you're inspired by. Maybe there's an unsung hero in your neighborhood that deserves to be recognized. Maybe you, and do it out of the goodness of your heart. If you go and help someone, you'd be amazed at how reciprocity comes back to you, and how inspired people will be by your aid that you might have had for somebody else. So there's a lot of value in that. I'm just having fun kind of pushing and pulling the paint on the shirt to kind of give this fluffy, textural feel that I think helps with the rest of her face feeling like soft, flawless skin.
Kind of blending some of the conversation we've had around imagining things and older painters. We had a question in our Instagram DMs. We used a background photo, I think for yesterday or the day before, that is an unfinished Waterhouse study, I think. And someone responded and asked, they're like, hey, I'm doing a master copy of this painting right now. Did you notice that she has 6 fingers? And I hadn't noticed that she had 6 fingers. And she asked, what would you do? Would you keep the 6th finger in when doing a master copy, or would you remove it? I'm curious what your approach would be.
Well, if you were inspired by the painting as is, I personally would paint it as is, personally. But I think that if, there's definitely like paintings where, I was talking about this yesterday, where even the old masters, they could overlook things just like anyone. They're human, and having them on that godlike stature is not probably always the best, even though they were incredible at what they did, and to revere them for what they did doesn't mean that they always did everything perfect. But it depends, there's a lot of ways to approach a master copy, and some of it would be, hey, maybe you're trying to mimic the paint handling, but not every stroke to be exactly what you see. And then some of it might be more about the color harmony of the painting, but not have to worry too much about the brevity of how they painted and it being sort of like spontaneous in nature. So partially you'll have to come up with what is valuable to you in the master copy. Like, what are you trying to achieve in the master copy? So, and I think that's more important to understand. So if you love just the feeling and the essence of the thing, and you want to like do it exactly like they do it, put the 6th finger in. Who knows, maybe there was some sort of anatomical thing there. Maybe they actually had 6 fingers.
I can't remember what the image was, but I'm curious if he was trying to try out different poses and seeing like which one worked better. But I don't know the sketch, so I don't.
I had a similar thought when I saw it, and I realized part of the irony of not having seen the six fingers before is that there was actually something natural to how the bowl is being held in her hand, where you realize, there could have been, and it's also an unfinished study. So I think you're probably spot on that at some point the pose changed and.
Like maybe you're deciding like compositionally which one works better, or you know, when the model is sitting, like maybe she's doing multiple things. Is it time? Should we do a break?
Yeah, but I wanted you to finish
good.
your what you're saying.
Other than, you know, kind of like we were talking about earlier with the jacket, you know, trying different things. So
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, I love it. All right, everybody, we're on our final break. We will be back shortly.
Can you bring your wrist?
All right, everyone, we are back. And I think this is appropriate to say that it's the final countdown. So
That's actually good. Yeah. Yeah, you're good. Because I'm just gonna tweak. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
We have a fun comment to kick off the last round, too. Alyssa says, "This is my most irrelevant comment yet. Apologies, but how each of you distinctively wield your brushes reminds me of the individualistic wand flourishes of Harry Potter."
Oh, that's cool.
Expecto Patronus. If you could use only one spell from Harry Potter, what would be your favorite spell?
So besides Reparo, which breaks or repairs things, there's one, what is it, like Accio? Or,
Yeah, the Accio.
Yeah, where it's like you're trying to find something. and
Oh
you
my
wanna-
goodness. I could use that one so much, you know.
Not that I've thought about this, but
You had that
Accio
answer.
TV
I'm
remote.
ready.
How is it that we lose the TV remote so well sitting on the couch, right?
Amazing.
You know, if I could just Accio all of my things, I will say that would make my wife very happy. You know, that's for sure.
I remember reading it being like, oh, that would be so cool.
Hopefully the Apple Watch will just do that soon. We can.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, exactly. Thank God for the Apple Watch. It actually helps me, you know, page all of my cell phone and everything. And then, of course, I have a tile in my wallet and on all the things. Parisa gives them to me every Christmas because she knows it helps her just as much as me. So,
But I would much prefer to be able to use a spell from Harry Potter. That's
Yeah,
way more
right.
fun than
Way
an
more
Apple
fun.
Watch.
that's so true.
Anytime I watch online when I'm at home, obviously Lewis's hands are a little more distinct, but if all of the other artists here are painting, Erica is the only hand that I can always tell.
Oh.
You hold your brush so beautifully.
Aw,
It's
thank
like-
you.
It has a almost conductor orchestral feel to it. Christine says, "Thank you for the generosity of Oaktober, a wonderful series with amazing insight and lots of fun. Thank you, thank you."
Oh, thank you all so much for joining. I'm just going to start just thanking all the people who have been with us every day and has cheered us on, and we were able to be a part of their world for a little while every day for a whole month. It's such a pleasure and an honor to, you know, with all the things that you can do in the world, you chose to spend time with us. And that is a big honor, a bit humbling. So thank you so much for being in our world and in our studio.
I am not going to scroll back up to find the question because I think it was a ways up, but somebody did ask, what is the little gadget that you're using and holding up to your eye every so often?
Oh, it's my trusty black mirror. It's welding glass, basically. I think it cost me like $7 from Home Depot or something like that. And basically, it's a mirror, but it does a lot of squinting for me because of its dark color. So I need to check all the time what I'm doing and making sure it looks like what I think it's doing. And so the mirror gives me fresh eyes, and it's the best. highly recommend.
Reese says, I'll be posting a drawing of Erica on Discord today. Now she'll have to join.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you gotta check it out.
Where the cool kids are.
Sean says, thank you so very much for all of the golden nuggets of painting wisdom you have so freely given this month. It's been such a blast seeing you all have fun. It has been fun. Moonsoon says, thank you very much for the wonderful series of painting masterclasses. Today was a particularly motivating broadcast. Grateful to everyone involved in the
Oh,
project.
good. I think just like in this final stage, just going through and making decisions of judgment calls of like what do I have time for, what do I not have time for, what's important and valuable. And just seeing if there's anything I feel is necessary to fix. I think it would be fun to have just a few moments of light kind of hitting off of her hair. It like did some depth of her shadow side, but I want to make sure that there's a few cool notes in when the hair catches the light. I love it.
I just dropped a link in the chat also to our newsletter sign up. We truly don't send that many emails, so go ahead, drop your email address in there, and we don't spam. But that is how you will hear about future free events, our upcoming studio sale, where several of the works from this month will be available, and a few others, workshops that we host, etc.
It's funny because I even think we've had a couple of people, or maybe one person that I can think of, that has actually been like, we don't see any more of your email newsletters. Are you still making them? So like that's how sparse we are. So like we're not going to spam you, because we have some people that's like, are you still doing it?
Like the safest email list to be on, really.
So, and we are so excited about the studio sale coming up very soon. That's the next thing for us to work on. We're going to get all images of all the different paintings and put them up there. It's a way for us to continue to recover from this month, and it would be a way for you to support the lovely artists like Erica and Tina and Evie here at East Oaks. So, and me. So we appreciate all of your patronage as well.
Our studio sales are some of my favorite days of the year because for a brief moment, I usually get to have all the paintings in one place and touch them and see them. And I think last year I mailed most of them out actually from my house, and so I may have taken a moment to put some of them around the house just to see,
just see how
just
they
to see
look.
how it looked.
All right, so for the rest of the time, I'm just going to keep kind of building up a little bit of this paint texture on the front. Just remember, if you sign up for the Discord, you might see us in Halloween costumes be posted on there. So
It's the only place you're going to get them this year.
that's right.
Discord.
That is right.
The high demand of people.
Yes,
who wanna
exactly.
want to see that.
I mean, honestly, you should go and see just so that you can see Rosie in her cute little costume.
Right. Support that.
Is it public knowledge what she's dressing up as?
She is not, but it's not. We just got it today. Parisa got it today, which is just a cute little pumpkin outfit. So with little jack-o'-lanterns all over it. And it might have a little bit of a tutu look to it.
Well, I might join Discord for that. So.
Sold.
You're like, that's worth the learning curve.
Got lots more
So-
thank yous coming through. Thank you from Chester, UK. Thank you all. This has been incredibly informative and inspiring. Y'all are the best. I've certainly enjoyed October because of your generous and superb sessions. Thank you.
Oh, it's our honor. Truly.
What's our time? How much time do we have?
We have 7.5 minutes left. Thank you, Apple Watch.
We promise none of this is paid ad for Apple.
Yeah, well, yes,
so-
yes. Nobody's supporting us. Good. Way to go, Kelly.
Except all of you.
Yes, exactly. All of our opinions are our own.
No hashtag ad here. Sean says, Lewis, all of your technology updates were great. Run with it. I look forward to more lives. Lewis and I actually had that conversation before starting today. I look forward to more of these also.
I am too.
All the updates have been really sweet.
Yep. More to come, hopefully. So. Actually, I'm going to make this part go down a little bit further. Just to kind of help create that extra little bit of depth in our last little bit.
It's amazing. We had 3 days, and there's just so much
Yeah.
I wish I had time to do, but so it goes. Do you mind turning your face slowly towards me? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'm going to just pull part of this over because I like that there's like this fullness happening It's like one of those last minute changes, but I think it helps the bottom part of the composition. I don't even know if everyone can see this low on the camera, but I'm just going to pull this over last minute because I like how her sleeve kind of connects with the rest of the piece, and then it creates everything to kind of go in a little bit of a V. For some reason I just had like a major flashback to the Mighty Ducks and like V formation for all of my 80s and 90s friends. Any of y'all watch Mighty Ducks when you were a kid?
I remember that movie.
Well, all right, where's my men out there who at
Hey, I
the
said I
age
got
of...
it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't. I was like, man, maybe it was a guy thing. Felt like it was like a big... You, of course you would. You're like skater.
Yeah.
Of course. I was sitting there, I was like, come on, kids. Don't make me feel too old. Yeah, I feel like that was 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely watched it in the 90s. I don't know if that's when it was filmed, but yeah.
Oh, you watched it too?
Oh,
You said,
yeah.
oh, I thought both of you said no.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That makes me feel so much better.
That
At first I
like
thought
a
it
tenet
was
to my
like-
childhood and stuff.
Okay,
like
perfect. See, I was sitting here going, oh man, I'm alone in this.
Moon Soon, excuse me, says, in Lewis's painting, the model looks a little bit sad. Is that intentional?
Oh, no, she's supposed to be pensive.
Yeah.
Pensive, like what, we've been working on the title of the painting, and it was something like, what is for dinner tonight? What am I gonna make? So, or how am I gonna conquer the world?
It reads very pensive to me. I also think being behind the computer and seeing the screen, I see that, the shifts that a live model makes in expression, and Jemiah looks so joyful and at ease in many moments, and that also is an expression that changes often. So that's part of that imagining process, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, everyone, this has been so incredible of a time. And in a way, I really hate that it's coming to an end. I'm really excited it's coming to an end, but I'm also, as far as the community and spending time talking with y'all, I'm kind of sad because I really feel like we've created an amazing bond with some of you. But just note that this is the beginning of hopefully many more. And I'm so looking forward to spending more time with you, communicating more with you. And in the meantime, before the next live stream situation that we do exactly like this, we hope that you'll join our community on Discord, because that is where we hope to devote more time to you and what you have going on in your artistic journey. And until then, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us this whole time. Thank you for Kelly for being our beautiful, beautiful voice behind the camera and doing all of the switchering today. And for, this is my one time on a recording to also thank her and thank you for all of the administrative assistance that she gives, especially with the emails. It's usually her lovely speech that you hear behind the digital what's the word I'm looking for? Veil. And of course to Erica for joining me on all of these and all the help that she has given us. And to all the girls, if any of them are watching, that are Tina, Evie, Livia, Erica, the whole crew. East Oaks is not complete without you and that family. And of course, our wonderful model, Jemiah, who has joined us for these past 3 days. We thank her dearly for being here. Thank you all so much for watching. It is the reason we do this. Like, subscribe if you found this to be enjoyable and interesting. Hit the bell button if you want to find out more or get more notifications. Sign up for our email to get the announcements so that you can be prepared for the next one that we do. And like always, happy painting, everyone. Y'all have a wonderful day and a great weekend.